Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with, if I could choose only one work by composer X, it would have to be work Q. Well, composer X in this particular case is Swedish composer Wilhelm STENHAMMAR, a wonderful composer that still is too unfamiliar to many for a bunch of reasons we'll get into shortly. But now I have to say that this is video number 101 in this series. I had hoped, frankly, that with 100, the evil god Cankrazans would forswear his ridiculous threat to destroy all of classical music, but for one work per composer, because he's so frustrated with the annoyances of the classical music recording industry, the business, the people, the whole afflatus that surrounds classical music distribution and appreciation in the universe. Well, the fact of the matter is, he's been enjoying this series so much that he wants more. I have a feeling he's not terribly serious about this whole thing, and so we're just going to give him more until he finally says, okay, don't worry, it's all going to be all right. Because the fact is, what we are proving with the first 100 is that the classical music tradition has so much variety, so much richness, so much rewarding material that you can't get rid of anything. It all has to stay out there for us to enjoy. And STENHAMMAR is a case in point. STENHAMMAR he lived from, 1871 to 1927. So he didn't have a very long life. He was about 56 when he died. And he didn't write a ton of music. He was a very introverted composer. He was a pianist by profession, and there are 2 piano concertos, 2 symphonies, a handful of other pieces, some piano solo works, and 6 very beautiful string quartets. That's basically his output. There really isn't a lot to choose from. But if I had to pick one work that best gives the essence of the man, his most typical piece, the most representative work of his, well, there are sort of 4 choices. You could pick all 6 string quartets in an album or one of the string quartets, but I decided not to because the string quartets, for all their excellent workmanship, don't have the sort of personality, the characterfulness of some of his larger orchestral works. They're excellent pieces, but they're part of his more restrained side. And I want something that has a little bit more color and gush to it, a little more glamour. And glamour was not his thing. So that leaves us 3 orchestral or big pieces. One of them is the cantata, the song, Zangen or Sangen or something like that in Swedish. I don't know, Swedish people can tell me what it is. That is a beautiful, totally unknown work. Really almost totally unknown. And it's fabulous, absolutely fabulous, about a half hour long. I mean, why it doesn't get performed by choral societies, I have no clue. I mean, it's music about music. There's nothing not to love in it. It's marvelous, but it is almost completely unknown. So that's kind of an issue. Not that all of his music is hugely well known, but some of it is sort of kind of on the fringe. Those other 2 works are the Second Symphony, which is an absolutely fabulous work. The First Symphony is this sort of big neo-Brucknerian fusion with 6 horns, and it kind of lays there. It has some dead spots in it, but it's an extraordinarily beautiful work. Has not been recorded often. The Second Symphony, everybody acknowledges, is a masterpiece. It follows the same general neoclassical tendency that Sibelius's music followed. That is, he started out as sort of a late romantic, and he became more classically restrained as he got older. And the Second Symphony is an example of that. It ends with like this gigantic fugue at the end, and it's really, really beautiful. It has wonderful melodic material and a fresh, springy, rhythmic kind of foundation that gives the whole piece a great deal of vibrancy and vitality. It's a masterpiece. It really is. However, the piece I chose, and I think most of you who know his work will agree with me, is the Serenade. I mean, quite often, it's one of those things. composers are at their best when writing serenades because they get to write something as big as a symphony with movements in sonata form and all that, but they don't have to be symphonic if you're nervous about writing a symphony, like, following in the footsteps of Beethoven, kind of nervous. And STENHAMMAR was that kind of nervous. And so the Serenade is a perfect work. It is glorious. It's lighthearted. It's tuneful. It's fantastically orchestrated. It has a little extra movement that some performances include and some don't. Doesn't matter. It's just joyous, fantastic, a celebration of music for its own sake. It has a phenomenal scherzo, a delicious finale. You never listen to it and think, oh my, he's working so hard. And that's really kind of rare in the classical music world, right? I mean, you want pieces sometimes that have that relaxed quality, but at the same time, it has a finish, a workmanship, a poise about it that's really exceptional, that really, I think, says everything about his ambition and what he wanted to be as a composer. So my choice to offer to the Guide Kankersans is STENHAMMAR's Serenade for Orchestra. And if you don't know it, you're missing a real treat. Listen to it. It's glorious. And you can get a wonderful performance of it, by the way, coupled to the Second Symphony by Herbert Blomstedt on Bis, a recent release that I reviewed here. It's really good. So you have many options. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you for joining me. Take care.